Wanted to talk about something before I do leave. I gotta jump on a bus, I gotta be somewhere. My bus is there, fuck it's gone. But yeah, let me just break it down to you, right? So, look, listen, Sri Lanka, is a Buddhist country. I'm Sri Lankan Tamil, that is what I'm saying. I just gotta be able to elaborate something, right? Look, listen, man, I got the motto of this channel always been, I'm saying, do whatever the fuck you want to do and show up, I'm saying. So let me just break it down to my trauma culture, right, and just be able to elaborate and discuss something about pain and suffering. So look, I made a video about Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. It was to do with a Holocaust survivor who moved to the US and became a psychiatrist, blah blah blah. I'm saying he's part of the Jewish community. He was a prisoner of the Nazi regime, but he went to the US and became a psychiatrist. Like I told you, he had multiple careers ranging over a span of decades. I'm saying, but the thing about pain and suffering, and I think it's important to talk about this, right? So Buddhist philosophy talks about to achieve pleasure, to achieve long-term satisfaction in what you're trying to do. You have to go through that phase of pain and suffering. And I think we live in a culture where we're trying to always trying to avoid pain and suffering. And I think it's important because pain and suffering is always important to for growth. Look, listen, I think the best analogy that I could use for trauma culture, right, is take something like take something like I'll use one analogy, right? Take a coal turning into a diamond, and I made this analogy a while back. A coal turning into a diamond, right? How does a coal turn into a diamond? You might be asking me, right? Fuck, this table is like, what? Do you know what I'm saying? How does a coal turn into a diamond? It's through pressure. Like, I'm talking about serious amount of fucking pressure. Get the air guitars out for that. Do you know what I'm saying? So a coal turned into a diamond, and it's a red. Diamond is red. Do you know what I'm saying? So what I'm trying to elaborate to you is that when a coal turns into a diamond, there's pressure that's been applied. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's a lot of pressure. You can't just get diamond out of just a small amount of pressure. It has to be a immense amount of pressure. The same way, to be introspective, retrospective, to have meaning in your life, you just gotta be able to go through pain and suffering because it creates a meaning. I'm saying. So my culture, my community, what I can't tell you is, man, if you're going through some shit, yeah, so Buddhist philosophy talks about this all the time. So I'm saying Buddhist philosophy talks about this. I'm from Sri Lanka, right? It's a Buddhist country, but I'm Sri Lankan Tamil. I'm a Christian. So I'm saying, but the Buddhist philosophy, Siddhartha Buddha, right, he's from Nepal. So I'm saying, if you're wondering where Buddha is from, he's from Nepal. That motherfucker sitting under a tree, he's from Nepal. Do you know what I'm saying? It talks about pain and suffering to experience bliss, to experience one's bliss, specifically speaking, individually speaking for my trauma community, right? You gotta be able to, experience pain and pleasure. Because if you're just gonna always feel bliss and you don't know what pain and pleasure is, how are you gonna enjoy your bliss? You know what I'm saying? I mean, example, we got all these businesses, but say if you wanted to be super wealthy one day, right? I mean, how are you going to experience that super bliss of being super wealthy when you don't know what having bare minimal feels like? Do you know what I'm saying? I mean, that's why it's quite fucked up with, when I go to certain part of London, you got these rich kids, and I got nothing against these rich kids, but these rich kids, they never, were born into minimal existence or poverty. Do you know what I'm saying? So the issue is these kids were given everything from the get-go from their parents because they got a trust fund or some fund out there that the parents put out for them. When they get to about 18 years old, they got all these millions sitting down. They can go invest or do what they want to do. You know what I'm saying? Versus someone who's coming from fuck all or poverty. You know what I'm saying? The issue is these kids now, they have a small pressure that's get applied to. They go on the street and someone just pushes them like, "What are you doing, bro?" Because some of these fuckers are entitled. Do you know what I'm saying? And then they're like, "Oh my god, he's fucking hurt me, bro. You need to go out tell a lawyer, bro, because I can't believe it, bro." Do you know what I'm saying? Because they don't know what pain and suffering is like of just being out here in the real world. You know what I'm saying? That's why I gotta tell you, man. It's all about it's just about not giving a fuck. Like I'm out on the street, but I wouldn't give a fuck about anyone out here. Realistically speaking, I'm saying I could only give a fuck about I mean I'm in Clapham, right? But I fuck with the Jamaican culture here, man. I'm saying because when I go places like the Caribbean culture, the Jamaican culture. They're cool, man. They're just like me, and I'm saying they just talk some realness, I'm saying, and I'm like, I fuck with that shit, man. I'm saying, shout out to the Caribbean, shout out to everyone that's out here, I'm saying, regardless of the British culture, everyone, I'm saying. But I fuck with some culture. But what I gotta tell you, man, it's it's pain and suffering, man. It's important. It's to experience one's bliss. You gotta experience pain and suffering, because if you don't experience pain and suffering in your life, then you don't know how to appreciate the peace and the bliss that you get one day. So if it's about making wealth, if it's about starting a family, if it's about especially if you come up from a dysfunctional family, or go to experience that bliss, coming from chaos or coming from disorder or some form of like some bullshit in your life, man, in your childhood. I had a fucked up childhood. People don't know, like I had a very minimal childhood, and people think, he thinks he's all that. Well, because I was the man of my house when I was 8 years old. Like, for my parents, I'm saying, like, probably my trauma culture is probably my community out there on the social media space probably feel like that. You had to grow up too quick for the world, you know what I'm saying, in your childhood, you know what I'm saying. But what I gotta tell you, man, it's all about keeping it realness to yourself, and the good and the bad, and just be able to know that sometimes pain and suffering is important, because that bliss that you're trying to get. I just finished my 20s, man, you know what I'm saying. I'm just in my real early 30s, just start of my very 30s, I'm saying. But it's about appreciating what's around you and being grateful for what you do got, you know what I'm saying. I mean, hey man, I talk about mansions and cars and bullshit, but I mean, we're gonna get there, you know what I'm saying. But then again, it's about experiencing this before you get it, man, you know what I'm saying. And I think that's what this life is about. And I think people that's tried to live a perfect life, or life's gotta be perfect, bro, fuck that bullshit, man, you know what I'm saying. Because sometimes you gotta realize that being a human being or part of the human gene pool, or being a person, a human, regardless of where you are, what country you are, what color you are, what religion you are, regardless of fuck all that, you know what I'm saying, regardless of anything, right? You're a human being, right? It's about knowing that it's to experience this life, and you gotta fucking make mistakes and fuck up and just go through this thing called life. Nobody here is perfect, you know what I'm saying. Nobody here is perfect, and nobody here, is nobody here is like a pure soul, you know what I'm saying. I mean, a man on this cross or some prophet out there, you know what I'm saying, might have been, you know what I'm saying, question mark. But then again, like, being a human being is by experiencing the world, the good and the bad, you know what I'm saying. And it's not about being good all the time. Being a human being is about being good and bad. I mean, there's no such thing as a good human being, you know what I'm saying. We're all fucking sinners, bro, you know what I'm saying. I mean, the only thing that comes close to something that's innocent is probably a child, you know what I'm saying. But that's all I gotta tell you, man. I'm not trying to be like a good human being. I'm both good and bad, like any other human being out here, you know what I'm saying. It's about knowing, in this life, you gotta know who your tribe, your community is, which people that you're gonna chill with, which people you're gonna chill with, the country that you're gonna visit, and those people, the community from those countries that you're gonna promote and you chill with. You're not gonna be friends with everyone from every single country, man. It's fuck that bullshit, you know what I'm saying. There are people that I will not fuck with, like countries that I will not visit, like countries like strict religion fanatic bullshit I will not fuck with, you know what I'm saying. And it's just not my thing, and I don't promote it. Like, if I'm sitting here with a wine, they're always gonna have something to say. So find your tribe, find your community. I'm talking to my community who's gonna watch this, and I'm gonna go, man. But what I gotta tell you is, look, listen, shout out to Clapham, shout out to. I mean, look, whenever I come up down here, right, I just like seeing the whole that building is just like the very end. You know what I'm saying, it's just, I don't know what it is. It's always. I remember coming up here when I was in my late teen. My cousin was at this London. There was a pub next door, and he had a friend that he knew, and hey man, I was there like. I was like, over the age of 18, I was just having a couple of shots on a drink, and that was like during Christmas, you know what I'm saying. So, man, shout out to Clapham, shout out to just it's just the vibe, and like I do like coming down here, man. It's just the vibe. Any place I go to or spend time with, it's just like the place I visit, like, and I travel through. I don't usually stop at towns or places that I don't want to fuck with, you know what I'm saying. I don't go, if the bus got to move through there, I got to get off that bus stop. I don't get off that bus stop, man. I go to another place, take another bus. But I come up to Clapham, and the place is good, man. You know what I'm saying, look, it's like all vibes and people, you know what I'm just saying. I'll go, man. Hey, peace and love, let's go.